Welcome to the Therapist Book Club, where two therapists dive into their favorite books and the powerful mental health themes they uncover.
Whether you're here for literary inspiration, therapeutic tools, or just some lighthearted conversation, you've found the right place.
So get cozy and let's dive into the pages together.
All right, welcome back. We're here for another episode. We're going to do a little bit more. We're going to offer some more suggestions for books for children. So these could be used with parents, with your kids, or in a therapy session with little kiddos. And I have brought this book, Listening to My Body. And this is really just a good starting place for kids to start becoming aware of the sensations in their bodies. I like to start here so that kids can notice, like, when I'm getting mad, what happens? Are my cheeks turning red? Is my heart pounding? Are my hands clenching? Or when I'm feeling sad, what's happening in my body? So we start with noticing the sensations. And this is a really great way to help kids start to tune in to
Could you tell us the title? Listening to My
listening
Body.
to my body. Is it backwards? Is the letters backwards?
Well, I couldn't remember. Like some people are listening and not watching, but
Yes. Okay. Listening to my body. And it goes through different feelings. So like what it feels like to be calm and still, what it feels like to be angry. And it gives this kid's examples of ways, like I was buzzing and tingling all over when my eyes were like saucers. I had a smile plastered on my face. So the good exciting feelings. And then he gets really mad and his skin gets burning hot. My jaw and fists feel hard as rocks. And that happened the last time I felt angry. So it walks you through different ways that a kid might identify feelings in their body.
I love that. Well, because here's the thing. Tiana and I both have pediatric experience. I would definitely call myself a pediatric therapist, although I don't know if you calling yourself a pediatric therapist.
I see more adults these days just because I'm
Yeah. But so what typically happens is we have a kid that comes in, there's something going on. I know immediately that there's I know it's super trendy to talk about the nervous system, but it is legit. Like
yes.
when you've been a nervous system or polyvagal therapist all this time and now TikTok's on board with you, you always are like, but it's true. So I love that you brought that in because when a child is experiencing anxiety, they're more likely to show you physical symptoms because their nervous system is now loaded with stress and anxiety. And so we talk about the body and body sensations out the gate with kids,
Yes.
right? Because I want to give them a dialogue so they can tell me what is happening. And so they can start telling me, because if you are a parent of an anxious child, it gets so hard to know, is my child sick or anxious?
Well, I think it's confusing for the child as well. If
Yeah.
they don't have the language or the connection between the bodily sensation and the thoughts and feelings that are running through their brain. They're
Mm-hmm.
feeling this upset in their tummy, but they don't know where it's coming from or why and what started.
Well, and actually, sometimes the kid can be both.
Yeah.
Right, that like if they're anxious, they could truly have diarrhea because of anxiety, but it doesn't take that away. They could truly throw up because they have anxiety, but it's a takeaway that they threw up. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm glad you brought that because I think one of the first things parents can do is have a shared vocabulary with their child to discuss. We ask, I think it's so interesting. We say, what are you feeling? Isn't that interesting? And like, rather than, we don't say, oh, what emotion are you experiencing? But think about that. What emotion are you feeling? Not what emotion are you thinking? What emotion are you feeling?
Feeling is a bodily sensation.
Absolutely. It's I call it a sensory
Yep.
sensation, but it's same, right? And so that's a great book. I love that. I love that book. I have a different one I use sometimes, but that's why I think the most cliche thing therapists teach children is breathing. Just because we have these physical sensations in our body, how can we teach the body to release energy? There's a whole bunch of ways, but calming breathing is one of the ways.
And I would say it, and we're going to talk about some books to help teach about breathing, but I would say a lot of times I'll teach like in combination. Yes, breathing is a good way to calm, but like you said, the energy of the emotion or the sensation has to get out somehow. And so maybe it means stomping your feet. Or maybe that means going upside down on the chair. Like breathing
Right.
isn't the only way to find regulation, but it is like a go-to strategy that we like to teach as something to put in the toolbox, something that
Yeah.
we can try.
When my daughter was experiencing, she experiences migraine, and some of that is from her like processing disorder or whatever, but some of that's from like anxiety. And she's just like, so it's like you can imagine she's furrowing her brow all day and she's stressed, you know. We do a lot of discussing. We read these books and we discuss like, is this a headache? Um, like, is your brain hurting? Is it, you know, because understanding that as a parent helps me understand how I can help.
Right.
And I'm not going to minimize either way because
Yeah.
actually sometimes I'm like, I don't know about you or anyone listening, but I'm so focused and maybe stressed about a task, I don't even drink water. So what's the problem? Which one do I
Yeah.
solve? Right. So still like, you know, but here's the thing. If you can't understand it, if you can't pinpoint what's happening, all of these strategies aren't going to be applied, right? And we want children to start learning about themselves.
Mhm.
And
What
so
works for them. Mhm.
I I think that's a great book to use for therapists. Like that's a great put it on your shelf kind of book to use. Because sometimes even having awareness for a child does help a little bit as well. Um, so I brought one that I use because for me, I'm like, play is so important with kids. Um, like I think some of here's my top tips for other pediatric therapists. I would say meeting a child where they're at, if that means them hanging off your couch, who cares? Like stop caring about the, you know what I'm saying? Like meet them where they're at. If they need flex seating, if they need to stand up, if they need to sit on the floor, just loosen up and go. And
Mhm.
play. And utilizing play is the best way to get a child to learn and to remember. Those are my biggest tips. But we have one of my favorite things to even share with my other clinicians that work with us too is hot cocoa breathing, which people probably know that as a mindfulness skill. But there's a book called Hot Cocoa Calm by Kira Wiley, and
Mhm.
it's wonderful. I love it. I actually make my kids a cup of hot chocolate, and you follow along with the book, and it goes through that they notice that it's too hot.
Mhm.
Fox blows on the hot cocoa. Can you blow? I actually really so here's something I like the illustrations um that illustrate like this calm swirly thing. There's really good research out there that talks about children are highly visual processors. That doesn't mean learners. That's different than learning, but they're processors. So bold pictures, anything, any visual cues. But you know, it walks the kid through like, now you blow on it. And um, here's when I'm gonna say Fox takes a tiny little sip of her cocoa. Can you take a sip? Can you say, mm? Because actually humming is yeah, there's evidence, but it's a somatic based thing that helps um calm the nervous system. They do that in yoga. There will be humming that goes along with yoga. So anyway, if you're a pediatric therapist, get this. This is a great lesson plan. Actually, teachers could
Yeah.
use this.
Calm corners. Yeah.
Yeah, school counselors could come in and do a really fun activity. Um, the visual of blowing and integrating like so now every time a child drinks hot cocoa,
Yeah.
they're going to think about this lesson plan to them. So now we've given them some co-regulation or something that is a co-regulator like hot chocolate. We're giving them two skills, the deep breathing and the humming, that helps somatically to calm them down. And it's just gosh dang fun.
Yeah. I think the blowing on the hot cocoa, or even I've done it with where we just imagine because I don't have hot cocoa, and so the imagination part of it, pulling that into the kids' toolbox of you don't always have to have a hot cocoa cup with you. You can your brain is very powerful. If you can imagine having a hot cocoa cup in front of you, you can pretend to blow on it, and your brain is gonna believe you.
Because have you ever seen a kid breathing like the rapid breathing is a primitive survival skill, and that rapid like is pushing, like you think about how this works, right? The breathing is, the lungs are paired with the, like the pulmonary system is paired up together. That rapid breathing is pushing the blood around, and your body is trying to bring the blood in to protect the core. But you are not being chased by a bear.
Yeah.
You are going to survive this moment. And so actually you can tell a child to slow down and breathe. You can tell them to like take a deep breath. And now listen, I can take a deep breath and never slow my breathing. That sounds like children, right? And so I that's why I think we focus on there's so many, there's like smelling a flower. Well, that actually made me a little
Bubble.
I'm feeling that. But there's blowing out the birthday candles, and hot cocoa isn't like having all the illustration of like we just need to get you to like the
Yes.
exhale is actually where people calm. I
Healing.
always tell my clients focus on the exhale. I don't care what the inhale sounds like. Let's just the exhale is where we
Mhm.
slow our body. I think you brought another one too with the
Yes.
breath.
Another breath. This one is called My Magic Breath. And so this brings in some play and imagination as well, because the breath is now full of magic and has superpowers.
Ooh.
And there's also really beautiful swirly
Oh, I
as
love that.
well. And it's very simple. So it guides you in like, do you have the magic breath? Let's see, take a deep breath in and then let it out. And so it's more like a guided process of it. And it talks about the circumstances in which you might need this magic and how to
Oh,
practice
great.
it.
Application.
Mhm. Here's a little dandelion. You could practice blowing your breath to blow out the dandelion. It also brings in like the good feelings. So what happened today to make you smile? And you can use breath to reinforce the positive feelings as well, to focus on the positive. So it's not just coping when something bad happens, but it can be really helpful. And so it just walks through a bunch of different emotions in which breath can be helpful. You can blow the sad off of the page. So this is like engaging them to like blow it right away. Yeah. So this is just another technique for, or another way to help kids practice and use their breath in different situations. Yeah,
I love these kinds of stories.
it's really fun.
Well, because I'm like, kids just don't are not developmentally at the stage where they can just sit on my couch and I can talk with them. Like, how did your day go today? And so thanks to all the kidlit writers out there who give us these tools that we can read together and then discuss. Um, Something really fun. Sometimes if anyone's heard of the Incredible Years, it's a puppet-based program, and it has kid puppets, and there's a dinosaur. And so I often bring Dinah the dinosaur in, and that's actually a skill that took me a minute to hone.
Puppeting.
To be able to puppet, like hold a book and have a puppet on your hand and turn pages while reading it in a puppet's voice. And those are the moments that I'm like, you know what? I went to grad school. Actually, I'm in PhD school.
Yeah.
but but that's just the developmental. We have to meet kids where they're at. I think we just expect too much out of kids sometimes. I the book Bad Therapy, she kind of brought that up. Tiana and I had talked off the podcast about this. And I will say that like kids don't need to be over therapized. And one way that that happens is we talk to them. We in therapy we can parentify them in a way, or prematurely mature them by having somebody sit on the couch and try to talk about feelings in a way that is not developmentally appropriate. And so having these fun ways of teaching, I usually have I have a breathe day with kids, that when I have an anxious child or any child that falls in PTSD, anxiety, ADHD, something like that, where we're trying to slow things down, we have a breathe day, and it's super fun. And that means they're going to have hot chocolate. They're going to blow out candles. They're going to blow bubbles. You know, we're going to read stories together. And they don't understand that, like, so now I haven't had asked them to raise their awareness or overly mature. And I will say overly maturing somebody is maybe developmentally appropriate, or I mean a therapeutically appropriate if it's like a PTSD, maybe we're trying to help them make sense of what's going on. And you do know what I'm saying? I'm like, but other than that, sometimes I think therapists working with kids have to be really careful that we are utilizing these fun skills so we're not so we're making them developmentally relevant
Yeah.
for them.
I think so much of the work that I do with kids, and tell me if this is your experience as well, is so much psycho ed in like little kid language. So
Yeah.
teaching them about what's happening to their body and in
Yes.
their emotions and in your brain, and then giving skills.
Yes.
It's not as much about like processing and thinking through all the scenario like we might do with an adult.
Yep.
Very much just like, let me tell you what's happening and let me tell you some strategies.
Let's plan a strategy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much same. Yeah, I do. The question why doesn't happen often for me. Maybe I would say I wonder how so and so is feeling.
Mhm.
But why? So why did you do that? Why are you feeling that way? Like, I don't know. Kids don't know. I
And
don't freaking know most of the time. I'm 43 years old.
yeah, and maybe that's a clue for my work in with adults is like stop focusing so much on the why.
Mhm.
Maybe adults need that too.
Yeah, as parents, right? Like, and if your child, I tell people I supervise and work with or train, I'm like, it's our job to psychoanalyze or overanalyze situations. It's actually, we don't want our clients doing that. We'd never want a child doing that.
Mhm.
We want a child to, like, a great assessment for a child is can they just have fun?
Yeah.
You know, like try to do a session and see if they can just tolerate having fun.
Yeah.
Some children cannot, anxious children cannot.
Yeah.
And so part of our work is trying to just have fun, right? And to parents, I think as therapists, we get worried, like we have to prove that we're doing something. And you just prep your parents that like a kid's job is not to worry. And I don't have like a blood test for that. I don't have like an x-ray for that. The test for them not worrying is how much they can sit with the moment and play and have fun with, like, to me, I'm like, even without acting out the themes of the trauma that's happening to them, when they can play and just play, we know a child is doing
Pretty
okay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they, a lot of children come to my office and I might play and they
Mhm.
act out a lot of themes, what I'm trying to do is get them back to the spot where they can just not worry about life and trust their adults, and a child that is feeling that will just play. They will just sit with me and engage with me and play. And um so this breath work stuff, I think I can't just sit down and ask a child, um
Just it's me.
yeah, just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And the more that you say that to, I've done this to my child because I actually am totally human. And my son in particular, if I say, okay, take a breath, he's like, I can't take a breath. Like it's so triggering for him, like it, or not triggering, but like it flares him even more.
Right. Yeah.
And so we have to really use imagination because
And distraction, reading a book is kind of a form of distraction too, of like,
yes,
okay, focus on this external thing rather than all of the chaos inside.
yeah. And that's like the life hack, you know, like if you can get them to blow a candle, if you can get them to blow a dandelion, if you can get them to practice breathing when they're calm or happy, we can reinforce all of those in a very like age appropriate way.
I also have a kiddo that if I tell him to breathe, he freaks out.
Well, yeah, who wants to be told to calm down?
No one,
But
no
we
one.
do that kind of stuff all the time to our kiddos.
No.
I know we're all human, but anyway, so I know the point of today's episode is really to bring some tools to parents and to other therapists that you can use um, for our kids, just to have a like basically get these books out. You cannot read 3 books to a child in one session. They'll kill you, but well, they won't. Just kidding. They just will be so bored with you.
Hey, here's a little life hack. If you don't have the books and you don't have the money to get the books and you don't, maybe you don't want to buy the, whatever your reason, if you don't have the books, almost all of these books I have been able to find on YouTube with somebody reading them and flipping through the pages.
Remember our episode of the No School My Rules, like and she had said, go to your library and request the books, and you're helping the author and you are helping yourself that way. Because yeah, I don't know if you're going to find Hot Cocoa Calm in your library. Maybe. I
Maybe.
found it on Amazon personally, but yes, listening to it on YouTube is
I
just
do all virtual sessions, and sometimes it's annoying to like hold the book and try to see if they can see the pages if I'm doing this. So I'll just find it on YouTube and just share my screen and let kiddos watch it with
that
me.
is such a good tip for virtual clients or virtual therapists working with kiddos. Yeah, find it on, share your screen, watch it together, react together. You can be a
I'll
little
pause
more,
it sometimes page by page and
uh,
say, practice with me. We'll do this
I was
together.
just thinking you can be a little bit more present observing the child watching this when you are not the one reading it. So that's a great tip. Anyway,
Right.
we're going to wrap up, but if you have any books that if you're a fellow therapist listening to this, drop it in any comments on the social media channels. We'd love to all learn together and kind of grow together. That's the point of the therapist book club.
You can compile some more recommendations if you have any.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay, we'll see everyone next time.
Thanks for joining us on the Therapist Book Club. We hope today's conversation inspired you to explore new stories and perspectives.
Don't forget to follow us for more episodes, share your favorite books with us, and join the conversation on how books and mental health connect on our social media channels.
Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and remember, your story matters.